If you are not using a platform like QuickBooks to keep track of your business income and expenses, I highly recommend using Excel or Google Sheets to track your business and expenses. And at the end of the year, you can come up with a summary of what your total income and expenses per category is. Now, I only recommend this if this is the last option. You're out of time and you didn't get a chance to pay for a subscription to a platform to keep track of your income and expenses, but you need to get numbers ready for tax time. Most banks and credit card companies do offer this feature where you can download their activity for a full year. So let's say we're in January of 2024 and we're trying to find out what our income and expenses and categorize those for the year 2023 so that we can get our books ready in order to have those ready for tax time. Here's an example where I'm logging into a bank account for a business, and there's usually a feature you'll find somewhere in statements. There should be a feature in your online banking account on how to download these transactions. So when I click on download, it selected that checking account, and all I'm going to do is select the range, which is the full year, the full tax year. And going forward, if you really wanted to do it this way, you can just do the same process every month and maybe get into the habit of doing this every month so that you're not finding yourself at the end of the year doing this for 12 months worth of activity. So when you download, most of the banks will let you choose a format. You want to make sure that either there's an Excel format or a CSV format. I've seen that most of the banking centers offer a CSV. So I'll go ahead and select CSV and download that. So it's downloaded to my computer. I'm going to go ahead and open that in Excel, or if you don't have Excel, put that file in a Google Sheet in your Google Drive. But what it does, it saves it into my local drive, and it's going to save it as that CSV file. The first thing I'm going to do is convert this to Excel. Or if you're using Google Sheets, you're going to put that CSV file inside of Google Sheets. So I'm going to go ahead and save as locally, and then just select the format of XLS for Excel. So it saved it as an Excel format. So this is where I'm going to do my books. The work is done where it's downloaded my entire year activity, but my own work that's going to come in is to categorize each of these transactions. So you can see this is going to be a little bit tedious, but again, this is a last resort. If there is no other way to do it, this would be a last resort on how to do your books for the end of the year. What you're going to have to come and do is in the very last column, add a column and name it, I like to name it type, which is what you're going to be classifying each of these activities. And you kind of look through the description of that activity. For example, this is a monthly fee, so I'm going to label it bank fee. I see the next one, it's a payment to the loan, so just loan payment. Extra space storage, it's a storage unit, so I'm just going to call it rent expense. If you have trouble figuring out what to name your certain expenses, let me know, or you can just Google common business expenses and see which ones fit best your category. So once you fill this in, I'm just going to go ahead and start filling these in. Okay, so I've completely filled this in. As you can see, the expenses are marked as a negative amount, and then you'll find some positive amounts, which is really income that was coming in for me. So I labeled all of this as income. I read the description, that makes total sense to me. That's income that was received for this business. So once you have completed all of your transactions for the year, which by the way, you can also add several transactions down here that maybe you had a credit card also that you have downloaded the activity for. This is just a very quick example that shows all of these accounts and all of these activities and then the type that I have labeled. So now here's the fun part where you're going to go ahead and summarize how much in total. I have several that are called income. Well, how much in total did I really receive for the year? You can add them up manually, which I don't recommend. At this point, let's take advantage of Excel, and let's take advantage, I'll show in a minute, Google Sheets. So what you're going to do is use what we call a pivot table in Excel. You're going to highlight the area. So I really just want the amount and the type that I have classified it, because what I want it to do is start grouping all of these categories that I've done for the year. So once you've highlighted those two, you go into insert pivot table, and it's asking you to select the range that you want it to analyze to create the pivot table on, and I've selected those two. And then it's asking, where do you want to place this summary that I will create for you through the pivot table? I want it just right here in my existing worksheet, and I will go ahead and just place it maybe here. Just click on that, and you click OK. Now here's the options it's going to give you. It gives you the amount and the type. Those are the two columns that you've selected. That's correct. The first thing I want to do is I want to select type, because that's how I labeled my type of expense. I click on type, and it should be under my rows category at the bottom left. And then if I click on amount, I want that here in my bottom right values category. And after that, I just go ahead and close this. And I saw that it has summarized exactly in total income what was it that I made, the loan payments that I've made, owner withdrawals, my total rent for the whole year. So this is a pretty neat feature of Excel. Now to show you in Google Sheets, the same thing. I've included this the same CSV into Google Sheets, and here I'm just going to go ahead and do the type column, and you start labeling each one of these again. And this is assuming that you're not using Excel, but instead you are using Google Sheets. Same process. I am going to go ahead and highlight my two columns of information and go into Insert, Pivot Table. I've selected this range right here, which is, I want to click on it just to make sure that it is selecting that range. I click OK. And then it's going to ask me, where do I want to place this? I want it in my existing sheet, and I want to include it somewhere here in this column H, row 3. Just click OK, and I create. And the same thing, it knows for the rows, what do I want for rows? I want type, so I just click on it and drag it over. And then for amount, I want that under my values section. Just drag it over and drop it there. And then that's all I have, so I can just close it. If you wanted to get fancy, you can always, same with Excel, is change this format a little bit by highlighting your number format, maybe up at the top, format as currency. It brings the dollar signs and some commas if that's something you want. But this is very helpful. It tells you exactly where your money was spent. Let me know if you have any questions.